Good morning, New Brunswick. I'm Charlie Cradaville. Welcome to the New Brunswick Today Show for Friday, September 16th. Thanks for starting your morning with us. We're proud to be coming at you live on our Facebook page today. We'll be interviewing New Brunswick Today's very own Chris Roberts, who's an inaugural member of our staff here. He's going to be talking a little bit about the Rutgers war on journalism and how it's affected our ability to cover this embarrassing debacle involving the school's repeated power outages and the chaotic evacuation that happened this week. Now, the great thing about our show is you can listen in the background while you read some of the excellent articles available on newbrunswicktoday.com. So please go check them out, catch up on the stories you might have missed, and keep listening to this in the background, and go ahead and share this video with your friends so they can tune in too and watch us live this morning. Again, we're going to have a great interview with Chris Roberts a little later, but first, the weather. It's a sunny day today. It should be pretty pleasant. The high is near 75 degrees. Winds are going to be 5 to 10 miles an hour out of the east-southeast. We've also got some traffic alerts for you today. Remsen Avenue is going to be closed at Power Street from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Sanford Street closed between Lee and Remsen Avenues until 4 p.m. And Wilcox Road closed until 4 p.m. for sewer construction. We're going to be taking your calls today. The number to dial is 732-993-9697. You can also comment on this video if you've got questions or feedback, and we welcome your feedback as well on our Twitter account, which is @NB_today. And like I said, please do us a favor, share this video with your friends so they can see it too and learn what's going on in New Brunswick today. So that's available on Facebook. It'll be available later today on YouTube, our YouTube channel, and also on the newbrunswicktoday.com website. Now, our top story today, a sad one. The body of an adult man was found in the Raritan River near the boat slips of New Brunswick Landing at Boyd Park. According to New Brunswick Police, their preliminary investigation, quote, does not show any signs of foul play. They say, however, a final determination will not be made until an autopsy is complete. Police have not identified the man. They're withholding that information until his family can be notified. It's the second dead body to be found in just 4 days in this area. On our last show, we brought you the story of the body that was found inside a vacant home on Joyce Kilmer Avenue, just across the border in North Brunswick. The Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office is handling that case. They still have not identified who the person was whose body was found there. Now, we've also got a follow-up to a story we brought you on that last show. The case of the female student who fell off of one of Rutgers University's newest buildings. The student had climbed up the decorative wooden panels that are part of the new Starbucks building that's under construction on College Avenue before falling 20 feet and requiring hospitalization. It's not clear if the student was charged with a crime. Apparently, the school's community service officers were sent an email that alerted them to keep an eye out for people climbing the building because it's so easy to do. This is a direct quote from that email, as reported in the Daily Targum. Quote, this building is constructed in a manner that would easily allow and may invite some individuals to climb on top of it. Please keep your eyes open for this type of behavior and contact RUPD when appropriate. But for those of you hoping to climb on top of that new Starbucks, it just got a lot harder. We visited the site after both NB Today and the Daily Targum exposed this incident, and now there's wooden boards in place blocking this so-called attractive nuisance and making it a little harder to get on top of that building. Now, across the street from us is, of course, the Middlesex County Courthouse, where there's never a dull moment during the week. Stay tuned to newbrunswicktoday.com for our coverage of the trial of Benjamin Ruiz. He's the former police chief of Perth Amboy, and he's facing charges of official misconduct and theft. The case looking like it's going to wrap up next week, so look out for an article by our newest NBT reporter, Jenny Goldberg, on that one. It's also a big day for Benjamin Buca, a local attorney who is set to be sworn in as a Superior Court judge. He will be the only Superior Court judge in New Jersey who hails from New Brunswick. A Republican-turned-Democrat, Buca has been a longtime ally of the political machine here in Middlesex County, and his dream of becoming a judge becomes reality this afternoon. New Brunswick Today will be there. Buca previously has worked as the attorney for New Brunswick's Rent Control Board and its powerful planning board, as well as boards in Highland Park and South Brunswick's government. He was also the tennis coach, the women's tennis coach at Rutgers for more than a decade, but he has to leave all that behind in order to take the bench. As we reported in July, Buca lost most of his pension for his public work after an investigation by the Division of Pension and Benefits Fraud and Abuse Unit. Now, that unit was started by Governor Chris Christie, but that didn't stop Christie from appointing Buca to the new judge job. And now, if Buca remains on the bench for 10 years or more, he will get a full $165,000 pension every year for the rest of his life. Now, at first, Buca is going to be assigned to family court in Mercer County. We've had disagreements with Buca in the past, of course. I've even filed an ethics complaint against him. It's still pending. But nevertheless, we wish him well in his new position. Please keep an eye out for our next story on Judge Buca coming up soon. But now for our main story, chaos on campus and Rutgers' war on journalism. For those of you who have been following me on social media, you probably saw that Rutgers has come out strong against New Brunswick Today and our reporters for attempting to document the conditions that thousands of university students were subjected to when the school couldn't get their electricity to work. Now, it's not the first time that Rutgers has had problems with electricity, particularly on the Cook campus. Last year, NB Today's Dan Munoz brought you the story of how, under pressure from residents at the Newell apartments, Rutgers ended up apologizing for repeated power outages, lack of heat during the winter, and eventually offered to give students back some of the money they had paid for this inconvenience. But what happened this week was even more widespread. It affected the entire Cook Douglas campus, and after 2 unexplained power outages last Tuesday, or this Tuesday, the power went out again early Wednesday morning in 90 different Rutgers buildings, forcing many of them to close, forcing students to attend classes in the dark, and many others to be canceled. After failing to solve the problem by sunset, the Rutgers administration made the controversial decision to kick 3,200 students out of their dorms and cram them into crowded gymnasiums on the Livingston and Bush campuses. It was reminiscent of the debacle the school went through during Hurricane Sandy, when water problems in New Brunswick forced a massive evacuation that lasted a full week. Rutgers also hosted a number of residents that had been evacuated from the Atlantic City area with the help of the National Guard on those same campuses. Now, outlets like the Daily Targum and even Rutgers University itself documented what was going on inside those shelters with photos and videos. So we wanted to do the same thing when the evacuation took place this week. We basically reported to the Livingston Rec Center, where there were hundreds of cots set up, lots of Rutgers employees, and just a few students at the time we were there. We'll show you a little later in the show the brief video we were able to get before being kicked out of the place. We're also going to tell you how Rutgers employees who are maybe a little overzealous overstepped their bounds and violated the rights of another one of our reporters, Mr. Chris Roberts, who's going to be our guest on the show. But first, we want to take a look at the trend here. There is an alarming trend of Rutgers employees who feel that they are above the law or able to act and carry out police powers. So I'll just tell you my story. Back in last March, I was trying to ask the president of the university a question. President Bob Barchi. He was attending a public event, a town hall event on the Rutgers campus. I had one simple question for him. I wanted to find out how much money he made off one of his private business deals. And I had tried to ask through email. I tried to ask through the university's media relations department. They did not get back to me. So I went to that town hall, and on his way out the door, I tried to get him to answer a question. But what happened next shocked me and everyone else there when Barchi's 27-year-old director of the president's office, Patrick Melillo, assaulted me, pushed me, shoved me, held me down against a chair to allow the president to escape without answering my question. So we have that video for you. Take a look at it, and we'll be back to explain more about this alarming trend at Rutgers. Can you tell me how much money you made off the sale of Covance? How much money did you make off the sale of Covance, President Barchi?
Charlie? Can I help you?
Please don't push me, sir.
Can I help you with something?
Yeah. And welcome back. That was me being assaulted by Director of the Rutgers President's Office, Patrick Melillo. Again, we have an alarming trend on campus where folks who work for Rutgers, bureaucrats or the like, think that they have police powers and they try to enforce their will on people. So that was Patrick Melillo. It's not the first time we've had Rutgers employees abuse their power. Of course, Mike Rice, the basketball coach, lost his job for being violent and offensive towards his own players. We've seen lots of other instances of abuse. The most recent one came in July at the Board of Governors meeting when Patrick Gibson, a student activist who just wanted to find out how much his tuition was going to be, he grabbed a folder or a binder that was on the desks there at that Board of Governors meeting, and he was stopped. He was actually physically assaulted in a very strong way by someone who had no business doing it. It was actually an electrician who goes by the first name Russ. We're still trying to find out the man's last name. Rutgers has been keeping a tight lid on that. But we also want to show you the video of Patrick Gibson being assaulted this July. That's at the July 20th Board of Education meeting. Watch this very shocking video.
Listen, I'm not going to tell you twice. Oh! How many times I got to tell you? 3 times already, right? At least.
A headlock seems a little excessive, huh?
Right?
So obviously we've got a problem here at Rutgers. Folks who are in positions of power but not police feel that they have police powers and that they can just do whatever they want to students or journalists, and that there are no consequences for that. So here's what happened just 2 nights ago. So Wednesday night, 3,200 Rutgers students were told they have to leave their dormitories at 10 o'clock. Now, ironically, by the time they were kicked out of the dorms, the power was already back on. But Rutgers was already in 100% all-out crisis mode, and they told the students, even though the power's on, you've got to go. You've got to go to these emergency shelters in athletic facilities. They told the students to pack for 3 or 4 days in some cases, and then they provided busing, insufficient, low-quality busing that Rutgers is known for to get them to these facilities in Livingston and Bush. Now, around 9 p.m., I went to one of the facilities. I briefly took some video before I was told to leave and told that wouldn't be allowed. I was told that it was for students only. But what happened next was a student reporter, very young and very intrepid journalist, Chris Roberts, who lives across the street from one of the shelters. He went in and brought his camera. He wanted to make sure that the students were okay, just like I did. He wanted to make sure that the conditions were satisfactory. He wanted to document what the students were being subjected to. Now, Chris got some videos, but before he left the building, he was actually forced to delete them by an unidentified Rutgers employee. Again, not a police officer. Even a police officer wouldn't be allowed to force anyone to delete videos from their camera, but Chris was basically held hostage in that building and told he wouldn't be allowed to leave. He was intimidated and threatened by these folks, and we're going to talk to him in just a bit about his experience at the Livingston Rec Center. But first, I want to share with you my video that I took in the Livingston Rec Center. You can see hundreds of cots laid out, just a few students, and a lot of Rutgers workers there, as well as the people who nicely asked me to leave. And you can watch that conversation right here. We'll be back with Chris Roberts to talk about this more. Oh, hi, I'm Press. I'm with Brunswick Today, Charlie Prattville.
No, you can't.
Oh.
You can't do that.
Okay. You want to see my press credential?
Regardless, you're not allowed in.
I'm not allowed in?
No.
You don't let members of the media see the facility? Is there somebody I can talk to?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Can you turn the camera off, please?
No, I'm recording for my protection. Who can I speak to? Is there somebody?
Phillips. Recording. He's press.
Where are you from?
New Brunswick Today.
Okay. Why are you in here?
Pleased to meet you. I just wanted to check out the facility, make sure everybody's okay.
Can't have that, so I'm gonna ask you.
I can't have a cell phone?
Well, you can have your cell phone, but you can't be recording.
You don't want me recording in
No,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
It's we think of it right now as if it's someone's resident home. Okay.
Makes sense.
Because,
All
you
right.
know, would you want someone videotaping?
Fair enough. I won't record. Is it okay if I check it out though?
No, we're gonna have. It's only for students and staff and everything like that. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I didn't see any signs or
All right.
anything.
Yeah. So, are you aware? Is anyone else coming to any of this?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. All right. You want to walk with me out here?
Sure, sure. Hey, are you recording as well?
No.
Oh, okay, not yet.
I usually am, but right now I'm not because it's a regular day.
Okay.
I'm concerned about
All right, so do you know who I could talk to about getting permission to, just observe?
yeah,
Not,
just out here, speak to me.
Sure.
Just have me out with an individual from New Brunswick Today. Somehow made it through.
We're now joined by Chris Roberts of New Brunswick Today, a Rutgers student. Thanks for helping with the show. You really helped us start something out of nothing here.
No problem. I'm glad to help. This is a great show.
Thanks, man. And so just tell people a little about yourself. How did you get involved in New Brunswick Today, and why do you think it's important to do this kind of work?
Right. So I started with New Brunswick Today around 2 years ago. I had a personal YouTube channel where I made political videos. And I did several interviews of people on the street, just random polling, to get their opinions on certain issues. And I did one on the paid sick leave law back in 2014, before I believe it was even a law then, to get people's opinions. And I sent it to New Brunswick Today. I just looked for newspapers in the area, and I found them on Facebook. I sent them my video, and that's when I met Charlie and another guy named Eric, and they recruited me to write for the newspaper. So I've been writing for them since then, written a few articles. Why do I think it's important to do this work? I really think it's important for journalists to put pressure on people in power, because if they're not held accountable for their actions, I think they can get away with some pretty nasty stuff, and it's something that needs to be done in a free society.
Awesome. And we, as an organization, we're so thrilled to find out that you were coming to Rutgers University. You're going to be, now this year, even closer to the action here at New Brunswick Today.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you're excited to be in college now for the first time in your life, living on your own.
Right.
Tell us, though, what happened on, I guess it was Tuesday or Wednesday night. You saw some of my posts on social media about the shelters and being kicked out, and you decided you wanted to take action yourself. Tell us what happened and what motivated you to go to the shelter with your camera.
Right. So, as you probably know, on Tuesday and Wednesday, there were 3 power outages at Cook Douglas, and this affected around 3,000 students, I believe, at the university. And it affected me, too, because I had to take a class in the dark. My friends had to take several classes in the dark. So I wanted to know kind of what was happening after Rutgers transferred these students to the Livingston and Bush to sleep for the night, since they were lacking power and they moved them there. And I saw what Charlie did. And I wanted to see the kind of conditions there, because I had seen several people go into where they were holding people at the Werblin Recreation Center. I was interested in what it was like, and after Charlie had been kicked out for not being a student, I figured I could go in and film the conditions since I was a student, but apparently that was not allowed.
Right, so you had already seen one of the shelters, I guess you were at Werblin to do your athletics activities.
Right.
But you noticed that one of the rooms, or one of the gyms there, was starting to fill up with these kind of like refugee students who were without a home for the night.
Yes.
And you were a little concerned about that. Now, you live across the street from another one of these places, at the Livingston Rec Center.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you saw this, you wanted to go in, you brought your camera in, and just give us the play-by-play of what happened. You took some videos, and then tell us when did the crackdown occur? What happened to you?
Right. So I was interested in what was going on there. I lived across the street. It was easy for me to get there. So I walked into the Livingston Rec Center with my camera to see what was going on. Walked right in. No one asked me to show my ID or anything.
No one stopped you.
No one stopped me. There was no indication that I had to show my ID. I started filming kind of at the front of the room. The cots were all in front of me, so I kind of went in front of the room to start scanning the room, filming. And then a representative of the Rutgers student government, a young girl, came up to me and said that I wasn't allowed to do that. I told her that I was with the media, with New Brunswick Today. She said, "Oh, okay, that's fine." She went to notify an older man who was representative of some other department. I'm not exactly sure which department it was at Rutgers. He tells me a contradictory thing. He tells me I can't film, and I asked him why. I asked him why because I thought it was a public area. He told me that I couldn't because it was their dorm for the night, and filming in the dorm is not allowed. So I complied. I said, okay, I'll stop filming. And then they did something which they are not allowed to do, which was they forced me to delete the video off of my camera. They said, you can't do that. So I didn't want to provoke them any further. I said, all right, I deleted the video. Then I tried to leave the building, and I was called back by the same man, brought over to a table that two student government representatives, I believe, were sitting at with one computer, rather. And they said that since I had not shown my ID when I walked in, and since I had started filming, both of which I had to show my ID, and I was not allowed to film, that I was being docked for what I did.
And you still don't know what that means. We have not been able to figure out what it means to be docked.
No. I asked them, and they said, "Oh, it's a meeting." And I said, "What kind of meeting? A meeting for what? When is this meeting?" No answers on that. They said I'd get an email. I still haven't gotten an email, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah. So basically, they didn't know how to deal with this. They kind of said, "Well, you're not supposed to be taking videos, so you have to delete the videos," which is, of course, overstepping their bounds. It's your camera. You're a journalist. You captured the videos, for better or worse. Mm-hmm. If you had done something so super bad, these videos would be evidence, right? And they shouldn't be deleted. If anything, they should preserve them. But they forced you to delete the evidence. And just so folks know, we're actually going to try to recover the videos and share them with our readers so that they can see. But tell us the situation inside the place. You saw my video. Was it similar? Was it just a lot of cots and not a lot of students? Or was it starting to get crowded by the time you were there?
Right. There was a lot of cots, but not much space in between the cots. There were not that many students. There were more than there were when Charlie went there. Not many students, but still the conditions did not look pretty there.
Yeah, not a place you would want to spend the night. In fact, I interviewed a lot of students on the buses that were being shuttled around. And many of them said, I'm not going there. They had their bags packed, but they were going to stay with a friend because they'd rather sleep on a floor than crowd into this place with like hundreds of roommates and workers and all this stuff. Now, things got really interesting, though, after midnight when Felicia McGinty, the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, actually tweeted at me, kind of in an accusatory way, saying that she had some mysterious secret eyewitnesses that had witnessed me do something, untoward, and And I responded by asking, do we have these tweets, Jay? So yeah, these are the tweets from a high-ranking, highly paid administrator in the Rutgers administration. And all I did was follow up with a question. I said, who are the witnesses? What was their role? No answer. She said she was happy to discuss this situation, but I've been repeatedly tweeting at her and have not gotten anywhere there. So we'll see what happens. But they told you they'd reach out to you too. The folks that kicked you out said you're going to be getting an email about it.
No one reached out to me.
No one reached out. So perhaps they have figured out that they violated your rights, and maybe they don't want to push the issue anymore.
Exactly.
Right. So we're going to keep looking into this. But Chris, thank you for your work. This is really important
Thank
stuff.
you. Thank you
And I think it's also kind of exposed an interesting discussion and debate about the rights of privacy versus the rights of journalists. And I think it was it's really an indefensible position that the university has. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm pretty sure from my video you can see there's security cameras in this facility.
Right.
So Rutgers is taking the position that you can't film here because we're treating it just like a dorm room. You're not allowed in. You can't film. You can't take pictures. But literally 15 or 30 times every second they're taking pictures from multiple angles of everyone in the facility. It just doesn't make sense, their argument. It's also pretty messed up to try to say that this is, somehow, just like a dorm room where you just have 300 roommates.
It's convenient for them because they can say that, but it really isn't a dorm room.
Now, I want to ask you a direct question because I was in there. I started filming right away as soon as I got in there. I should have talked to some of the students first and gotten some information while I could. But I want to know, did any students come to you and say, hey, I prefer you not film? Did any students say, don't film me, I don't want to be filmed? It was clear you were filming. It wasn't even a phone. You had a straight-up camera.
Yes.
Did any students have any problem at all with you being there? Did they say that?
There was one student who had a complaint, but I told her that I hadn't captured her in the video, and I moved the camera away, and I said, I won't film you, and she said, okay, that's fine.
Right, so you behaved like a respectable journalist.
Absolutely. You
respected the wishes of the people that you were documenting, but nobody had any problem with you being there. Nobody said, I don't want this guy around with a camera. The only people who had the problem were the administrators.
The administrators, yep.
Right. Well, very interesting stuff. We're going to keep an eye on this story, and hopefully Rutgers will give us a response about some of these things, and,
we'll see.
And tell us if they were actually recording the students the whole time, and tell us maybe how many students they crammed into these places, and tell us why they don't let journalists in there, because we saw, looking back at Hurricane Sandy, we saw, the Daily Targum published videos that included, footage from these, sort of makeshift shelters. And we also saw Rutgers themselves publish photographs from the shelters that were not student shelters, but shelters for folks from South Jersey who were bussed up here. And it was kind of a promotional feel-good thing with the governor's wife. And they had photos of the governor's wife walking around the shelter, and who knows how many photos they actually took, but we saw at least 2 of them that they published in a press release. So we'd like to hear from Rutgers. If anybody out there from Rutgers is watching, please, tell us why you don't want journalists doing the same thing that you do, the same thing that you subject your students to. I think what's lost in all of this is that we didn't go there to bother anybody. We went there to help, right? We went there to look out for the students' best interests. So
exactly,
it's really kind of messed up that Rutgers would try to make it like we're the bad guys when we're just trying to do our job, and more importantly, be a voice for the students who might not even know that their rights are being violated, and might not even know that Rutgers isn't handling this as good as it could. Well, here's hoping that we all have electricity, including you in your rather old housing that you're in.
Quads.
Yep, and here's hoping that Rutgers sees the light and stops overstepping its bounds and starts respecting journalists. Chris, thank you for your work. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. We hope to have more news on this next week. but also we're going to move on and cover everything else that's going on in our city. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday morning. Tune into the New Brunswick Today show. We're going to keep doing this. It's going to keep getting better. Thank you again, Chris. Keep up the great work.
Thank you for having me on.
God bless.